Yes or no? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. Should the Raiders trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Jets? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, the New York Jets pick up the phone. They give Dave Ziegler, they give Josh McDaniels a call, and they said, hey, we're going to give you our first-round pick in 2024 because they do get that pick back because it was a conditional pick. I can explain more here in just a little bit. But if they offered you a first-round pick in 2024 for Jimmy Garoppolo, would you make the deal? Luckily for you, I'm going to be talking about it today on the Raiders Report. So I saw this tweet go out, and anytime people start talking about something, my job as a host here is the Raiders Report at Chat Sports. It's you see a trending topic, whether you believe it's true or not, I got to discuss it because guess what happened? This tweet goes out by Ted Nguyen. Hypothetically, if the Jets offer the Raiders a first for Garoppolo, would you take it? I had so many people send me this that I was like, I got to talk about it on this show. Whether you like to hear that or not, I'm going to discuss it. So if you don't already know because you live underneath a rock, Aaron Rodgers was injured on his first drive with the New York Jets. 4 total snaps, 0 for 1 with the throw, and he's out for the season with an Achilles tear. And if you're a New York Jets fan, Dad, I'm looking at you. You might be concerned that, yeah, he's not only going to miss 2023, this type of injury at 38, 39 years old, this could be a career ender. So the question is, could the Jets then look to trade or sign another quarterback to compete with Zach Wilson? I get that Robert Saleh has already come out and said that this is Zach Wilson's team. What I would respond with that is, well, no shit. Like, what do you expect your head coach to say? He's going to already commit to Zach Wilson because that's the guy they drafted. But then what's also funny about that is it's already been reported that the New York Jets have started to reach out to veteran free agent quarterbacks. I do think the more likely scenario is that the Jets try to add a free agent QB because there's some halfway decent names out there rather than going and trying to trade for a quarterback on another team because there's not many quarterbacks that you're going to be able to pick up the phone and get them to come to the Big Apple, especially with that offensive line. And I love me some Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy G can succeed with the Las Vegas Raiders because they have one of the best offensive lines in football. You put Jimmy G on that team with that offensive line, he's hurt in the first quarter just like Rodgers. So here's what we're talking about. Garoppolo potentially going to the New York Jets. Rodgers done for the season with that Achilles injury. Jimmy G was with Robert Saleh with the San Francisco 49ers. And the Jets, they get their 2024 first-round pick back. So if you're in New York, you're in all-in mode, right? Like, you know that you went all in trying to get Rodgers. You went out, signed a few key free agents. You made a few big deals. You have to win right now. And you don't believe that you can win with Zach Wilson. So do you try to pull this trade off? Do you try to do it? The Raiders, you get a first-round pick in 2024, so now you're rocking with 2. And then the New York Jets, they get Jimmy Garoppolo. My question is, whether you're a Raiders fan, whether you're an NFL fan, hell, we're going to get Jets fans down in the comments of this video. Would you do this trade? Who wins this deal? If you think it's the Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to type LV. If you think it's the New York Jets, then I want you to type NYJ. Coming up after this YouTube ad break is going to be my answer. My answer is both sides win this deal. I do think Jimmy Garoppolo is an upgrade over Zach Wilson. Yes, I would love to have an extra first-round pick in 2024. Who wouldn't? But the reason why that this trade is never going to happen, like, let me be very clear, this trade has less than a 0% chance of happening. Josh McDaniels does not want to put Aiden O'Connell out there too early. He doesn't think that he's ready to go, and they view O'Connell as the long-term option. Also, if you're the Raiders, you're 1-0. Like, there's no reason for you to trade away the quarterback that got you a win week 1 and a QB that is a captain on this team, because if the Raiders trade away Jimmy G, you're pissing off a lot of people in that locker room, which is the last thing McDaniels and Ziegler need. The way that I would answer that trade question is this. If you're a Raider fan that believes with Jimmy Garoppolo at QB, this team has a 0% chance of making the playoffs, ship him off to New York, get a first-round pick. If you're like me, where I do think that the Raiders have a playoff chance, they can make the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo, and as long as you got a fighting chance, Raider Nation deserves it, and all those people paying all that money for season tickets to go watch this team in Las Vegas, they deserve it too. So as far as I'm concerned, Jimmy Garoppolo ain't going nowhere. Coming up next here on the show, I'll admit, there is one trade that I would do with the New York Jets that it's so just asinine that they're not going to take it. But I would also be like, it's kind of asinine to even ask the question, could Jimmy G be traded to New York? So I got one deal, and it's the only deal that I'd be willing to accept from the New York Jets if they want Jimmy Garoppolo. But hey, man, got a brand new sponsor here on the show, and I always say, this show continues to grow and grow and grow, and from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate each and every single one of y'all that support this show. But if you also want to help me continue to grow, go support our sponsors as well. And we got Factor now here as a sponsor, and you guys can get one hell of a deal. So if you're too busy this fall to cook, but want to make sure you're eating well, with Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping, the prepping, and the cleanup too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy, then go back to crushing your goals. This September, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/RaidersChat50 and use code RaidersChat50 to get 50% off. That's code RaidersChat50 at factormeals.com/RaidersChat50 to get 50% off. I always love when I get a sponsor on this show that I've used in the past, and I also know it's like the biggest pat on the back I can get from Alex, where when she recognizes a sponsor that we have on the show, and she's like, oh, wow, you have that? Like, to me, I'm like, oh, that's dope. And I can remember about 2 years ago, I love Alex to the end of the moon and back. She's not much of a cook. She can cook some things, but I like a little bit of variety. And as you can tell, Chugs and I, we're foodies around here. So if you haven't already, I guarantee you're going to love this place. I know I did. Heck, the food was so good, even Chuck would be sitting there begging right next to me. Chugs is looking at me right now. He's like, bro, you got to go get some food. Factormeals.com/RaidersChat50. It's going to be down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So here is the only deal that I'm accepting for Jimmy Garoppolo. You give me Quinnen Williams, you can have Jimmy G. I'm okay with it. Like, yeah, first-round pick is great and all, don't get me wrong, but I'll take one of the best defensive tackles in the National Football League because the Raiders desperately need a DT, and you can have Jimmy G. I'm okay with it. If this is the deal that I end up getting, cool. Guess what? It ain't going to happen. But you know what? For the shits and gigs, here we go. Would you do this trade or who wins it? If you think it's the Raiders, type Las Vegas. If you think it's New York Jets, then I want you to type New York down below. The Jets, here's the thing, man. They're never going to trade Quinnen Williams because the reason why that they're even trading for Jimmy Garoppolo is because they believe that they're in win now mode. So to move on from your second best player on your team overall doesn't make any sense. The bottom line is this. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to the Jets, and I can see right now in our live show, like, people are upset that I'm even talking about it. I'm annoyed that I'm even talking about it. But you also got to understand what my responsibility here is as my job. Bosses come in and they say, hey, Mitch, this is a big-time topic. You got to talk about it. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen to my bosses. I'm going to talk about it. So here's what the New York Jets could do instead of calling the Raiders because they're just going to be wasting their time. Here's some free agent quarterbacks that New York could potentially look at. And to me, there's 7 candidates. Like, there's a lot of other free agent QBs out there. I saw that Colin Kaepernick said, all I need is a shot. No, you don't. It's been 10 years, Colin. Like, let's move on from now. It's been 7. I don't know. It's been a lot of years. I also saw somebody throw out the idea of Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is still a member of the Indianapolis Colts. If he were to come out of retirement, guess what? The Jets would have to trade with Indy, and they would have to go and get him. And even if Andrew Luck came out of retirement, shit, they might trade away Anthony Richardson and just roll with Andrew Luck. Obviously, I'm kidding there, but I will say this from a positive standpoint, and there's going to be people that probably get mad at me for saying this, but I do this show because I do it for Raider Nation. And when the injury happened to Aaron Rodgers, selfishly, I said, that makes our jobs easier here for Raider fans. Like, that makes that Week 10 game a lot easier. Now I might actually buy my dad tickets to that game because it'll be a little bit less expensive. But that's how I looked at it. I would never wish injury to any player. But from the Raiders' standpoint, Aaron Rodgers, a 4-time NFL MVP on a good Jets team, goes down. Their Super Bowl odds went from I think it was plus 1,500 all the way down to 5,000 in one night. So guess what? This injury does help out the Raiders, and that's what I care about. How does it help out the Raiders? The Raiders' playoff chances, they go better. They go up. They get higher because the New York Jets now, to me, are a team that if Zach Wilson's the QB, you can have a great defense. It's not going to matter. They're not going to make the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of teams vying for those 7 spots. The Raiders' Week 10 matchup, it's easier now. Hell, they might even be favored in this game, which it's going to be something to watch. The Raiders' offensive line up against the Jets' defensive line is going to be one for the ages because both of these units are very good. But it makes it easier. And then maybe this is probably the thing that makes me laugh the most. Finally, the Davante Adams to the Jets rumors can stop because my mind at times wants to just when I get people being like, do you still see that people on NFL national TV, NFL Plus, ESPN are still like, oh yeah, Davante Adams, he could go to the New York Jets. He doesn't want to go to the New York Jets. Contract doesn't make sense. This is why all these things, I'm happy that I don't got to deal with this anymore. All right, y'all, we made it this far in the video. I appreciate you. Also, I see some people around there saying, well, we could trade Hoyer, and I laugh out loud because when I walked into work today, Jeremy, my tweet, if you saw it today, at Mitchell Renz 365, was actually Jeremy's idea. He goes, you know, like in the show Pawn Stars, where they're like, the best we can do is this. The New York Jets pick up the phone. They call the Raiders asking for Jimmy Garoppolo, and you're like, you know, the best I can do is throw in Brian Hoyer. The Jets, if you want Brian Hoyer, I think Raider Nation is more than okay with you going out and getting him. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I know this was kind of a wild and interesting show. Also, huge shout out to Sarah Otto, the Otto family. Overall, appreciate each and every single one of you.